Bold 3 Detergent Plus Fabric Softener.
Like that spray. Relief.
We've all seen these shows in reruns, and at various times. If you're over 30 years old, you've seen every episode of these shows over 100 times each. So you're very familiar with the characters and relationship dynamics of the show. When I watch these shows, sometimes I imagine what characters are secretly hooking up and which ones would be more likely to do that. Just so we understand, this video isn't about the actors behind the scenes shenanigans, but about the characters hooking up in the show. This is akin to shipping fandom, in that I'm speculating and suggesting that certain characters have had affairs, but not so much full-on relationships that shippers would want. So let's look at classic sitcom secret hookups. Possibly. First, Gilligan's Island. Here we are with the castaways. With 3 single men and 2 hot young chicks, you'd think orgies would be happening nightly. But Gilligan was way too goofy to score, even on a desert island with women who had limited choices. And we're not going to talk about that time the skipper almost raped Ginger.
Hi, Skipper.
Well, hi, beautiful. Hey, honey. What's your name?
Well, Ginger, big boy, what's yours?
Well, I don't care what my name is now.
Skipper, are you all right?
I'm fine, and may I say you're a bit of all right yourself.
Oh, Skipper, that's not like you.
Well, I don't know what I used to be like, but I like what I'm like now.
Oh, I know what it is. Your sailor's blood's finally coming to a boil, huh?
Well, it's about time.
Wait a minute. I mean, after all, you're a leader, a man above men.
Well, I don't know what type I am, but you're my type. Skipper!
Professor! What's happened to the skipper?
Well, he's got amnesia. He can't remember a thing.
The hookup I'm talking about is the one between Mr. Howell and Ginger. That's right, Thurston Howell III and Ginger Grant got it on. Why those two? Because whenever Ginger wanted to get her way on something, she would go into her wannabe Marilyn Monroe seduction shtick, which would scare Gilligan and melt the skipper. And they did do an episode where she kisses the professor, but he was just too clueless.
How was that?
That wouldn't even satisfy your mother.
We never saw her pull that on Mr. Howell because of the morality of the times. He was a married man, and Lovey was usually near. But I imagine that Mrs. Howell wasn't always around. Also, they slept in separate beds. And an old money blue blood couple like that, Howell is almost expected to have side chicks and dalliances from time to time, as long as he doesn't flaunt it in his wife's face. And Thurston, being a connected multi-millionaire, would make him a good friend to have when they got back to civilization. So I can see Ginger, a struggling B-movie actress of questionable virtue, hooking up with old boy on the other side of the island when Lovey was napping or otherwise occupied. Also, Ginger slept in the nude. When they showed them in their hut, Ginger would be wrapped up in a sheet. Even when they had to scramble for some reason, she would just run out of the hut with a blanket on. So I imagine she would sneak out of the girls' hut, wrapped up in a sheet, easy access for a quickie, and meet Mr. Howell somewhere away from the little village. Come on now, it's too easy. Trust me, y'all, Ginger and Mr. Howell was hooking up. And speaking of the girls' nighttime attire, that brings us to the second secret hookup among the castaways, Marianne and the Professor. Marianne's sleepwear was a man's white dress shirt, much like the Professor's, but it most likely came from Mr. Howell, as they brought a ridiculous amount of luggage for just a 3-hour tour. But deducing how we get the Professor and Marianne hooking up is just a simple process of elimination. Gilligan was too goofy and obtuse, the skipper was too old and fat, and Thurston Howell was too old as well. Also, Marianne was too much of a good girl to cheat with a married man. That leaves the Professor. He could be nerdy and aloof, but I could see sparks between them. Man, if the bushes on the other side of that island could talk, the seedy stories they would tell. The other secret hookup combination that every boy dreamed of when we hit puberty was Ginger and Marianne. Again, Ginger slept in the nude. That's the stuff of porn movies. And the combination everyone jokes about is between Gilligan and the skipper. All that little buddy stuff. Yeah, right. Next. And finally, Three's Company. I know what you're thinking. This is easy. Jack would be boning one of his roommates, either Jack and Janet, or Jack and Chrissy, or whatever the blonde roommate of the moment was. And again, this would be too obvious. The hookup I was thinking about was the one with Lana. Listen up, youngins. Long before the term MILF was coined.
That's Stifler's mom? Yep. Shit. Cannot believe a fine woman like this produced a guy like Stifler. Dude! That chick's a MILF. What the hell's that? M-I-L-F. Mom, I'd like to fuck. Yeah, dude.
We used to call horny, attractive older women Mrs. Robinson, as in...
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Lana was brought in the 4th season. According to the fandom wiki about the show, the addition of Lana to the cast caused tension between John Ritter and the show's writers. Ritter believed that it would be out of character for the womanizing Jack Tripper to inexplicably turn down the advances of Lana, a sexually voracious, attractive older woman. The writers reasoned that because Lana was older than Jack, he would be turned off. Ritter did not believe that the middle-aged Lana, only meant to be in her 40s, whereas his character was in his late 20s or early 30s, would repel Jack.
Well, he is cooking.
Lana, come on, Lana.
Don't forget to give me your address. I don't want to lose touch.
And he was right. Jack would absolutely be tapping that ass. He probably wouldn't be bragging about it, but he definitely would do it. And so would Larry, for that matter. But let's get back to Jack and Janet for a second. Remember those shippers I mentioned earlier? This was the combo that fans of the show was rooting for. And for good reason. Throughout the run of the show, I always had the impression that Janet had a thing for Jack.
The window when it's raining.
No. This is a job for the man of the house. I shall return. Meanwhile, make yourselves beautiful for me.
Alcohol, of all the vain, arrogant, egotistical. He's kind of nice, though. Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Hell, in the 2nd episode of the 1st season, she was already crushing on Dude. And she seemed to get particularly jealous if she thought Jack was hooking up with one of the other roommates, whether it was Chrissy.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
Hey, I have been alone with Jack before.
You were never all night.
Do you think I need a chaperone? Is that what you think?
No, I'm just saying, don't do anything to give him the wrong ideas. Or the right ideas. Or any ideas.
What?
Well, like walking around the apartment in your little teeny shorty nightgown. Or getting too close to him, or... Oh, look, Chrissy, all I'm trying to say is, don't be yourself.
Or Terry.
To talk to you.
About what?
About, the 3 of us living here together.
Everything's all right, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
It isn't?
Let me put it to you this way. If 1/3 of the 3 of us had something going on with the 2nd third of the 3 of us, it could get kind of sticky around here for the 3rd third of the 3 of us. Get my drift?
Oh, sure.
And if you've got something going with Jack, it won't bother me at all. Oh, thanks.
No!
I'm talking about you.
Me?
Jack said that you couldn't keep your hands off him.
And even in the production of the show, Joyce DeWitt thought that the two would have or should have ended up together.
That one had extensive auditions to find the love interest. Now, the problem with the cast from 3's Company is they thought, well, why not just keep going with us in it? Joyce thought, struggled with that she should be the love interest and that, that the character Jack should fall in love with her and they should get married.
John Ritter disagrees.
In order for the show to work, you had to have a father who despised Jack. And we had met Janet's father and Chrissy's father and mother and everything. In other words, there had to be a new character.
The problem was actually determined, or the answer was determined with the English series, because there was a logical progression. In the first one, Man About the House, it was roommates and the guy. It changed to Robin's Nest, in which it was the guy and his new love interest. And they opened up a bistro, and they lived on top of it. That had never been challenged by any of us, because I knew that was the logic. We were going to go in that direction. Hard feelings, again, from Joyce. It certainly was never intended to be that way, but she felt like, she should have been that star instead of Mary Carteret, who we pulled out of a Broadway show.
To do the spin-off with Janet, it would have actually required a slight adjustment. Her father passed away, and her uncle, a recently retired Marine, shows up as a family patriarch. He can still be played by Robert Mandan. Because her uncle's been away for so long, he wants to reconnect with his family, and Janet, his niece, becomes the focal point for that. He's conservative, a bit overprotective, and dislikes sailors, which means he clashes with Jack as a former Navy man. Janet's mother doesn't have to be mentioned because, with the Ropers, Jack had to pretend to be gay to fly under the radar with Stanley. But Helen was fully aware that he wasn't, and that made no difference because she had no influence on her husband. So just because Janet's mother is okay with Jack doesn't mean her brother would be. This is just me spitballing off the top of my head, but it's a wonder why paid network writers couldn't think of that. But this just shows ultimately that the network and the show's producers had little respect for the actors and fans, considering how they treated the cast. In retrospect, Jack and Janet should have gotten together. It would have been a natural progression for two people who have lived together for so long and have been such a constant presence in each other's lives, and it would have been a true happy ending. So those are my classic sitcom secret hookups. Possibly. What other favorite sitcoms do you think had secret hookups? Post your suggestions in the comments.
It's an uphill climb. The first mate and his skipper too will do their very best to make the others comfortable in their tropic island nest. No phone, no light.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to support the channel and videos, feel free to donate through PayPal or Cash App. All the links are listed in the description below. And thanks for watching.